Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 9th, 2025, and Barcelona have reached an agreement with the Turkish construction company Limak in regards to the VIP seats. Also, PSG are targeting Alejandro Balde, and finally, Barcelona have reassured Jonathan Tah that this signing is not completely ruled out. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where we discuss Barcelona news. Or I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting that discussion going. Today, we're starting a little bit late because I left work late, and then I did the post-match live analysis, and now we are doing the podcast. And of course, for those of you who'll be watching when the podcast ends, don't worry, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kids, Get Back, or Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's start with the news because, ladies and gentlemen, today, Barcelona, an unstoppable Barcelona, completely dismantled, destroyed, and demolished Dortmund 4-0 in the quarterfinals of the Champions League at home at Luis Companys Stadium with a goal of Rafinha, who technically should have been Cubarsi's goal, but Rafinha gonna stole it. But hey, whatever. A goal is a goal. A double by Lewandowski and another goal by Lamine Yamal, who, by the way, has become the only player in history to score 4 goals in the Champions League before turning 18. Ladies and gentlemen, this kid is special. This kid is destined for greatness, and he continues to prove it time and time again. Now, I did do the post-match live analysis, so if you want to hear my detailed analysis of the match, make sure to check out the video on the channel. Now, let's move on to the next bit of news because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona have reached an agreement with the Turkish company Limak in regards to the VIP seats. And you might be wondering, Mo, what the hell are you talking about? As you know, Barcelona sold the rights to the VIP seats or part of the VIP seats at the new Spotify Camp Nou to 2 investors in the Middle East in exchange for 100 million euros to be able to achieve the 1-1 rule and register Dani Olmo and Pau Victor. However, the auditor that Barcelona hired, Crow Spain or Spain Crow, decided that the 100 million euros could not count as income for Barcelona during this season because the VIP seats are not built yet. And as a result, La Liga decided to not count those 100 million euros, and therefore Barcelona are no longer under the 1-1 rule. And also their wage limit has been reduced. Now, Barcelona have decided that their priority will be before June 30th is to get these VIP seats built, because since the auditor's excuse not to count 100 million euros is that the seats are not done, they want to get those seats done before June 30th. Why June 30th? Because that's the fiscal year deadline. That's when the fiscal year ends. That's when clubs turn over their financial paperwork to La Liga, and that's when La Liga issues new salary caps. So Barcelona need to figure out this problem before June 30th. Otherwise, they're not going to be under the 1-1 rule in the summer. It's going to be almost impossible to sign players, and also it's going to make difficult the renewals, especially the renewal of Lamine Yamal, someone who will be turning 18 during this summer, and who Barcelona want to give him a long contract because, as you know, before you're 18, you cannot sign any contracts longer than 3 years. And as such, Barcelona have reached an agreement with Limak, which is the Turkish construction company that's in charge of the renovation of the Spotify Camp Nou, and they have reached an agreement to prioritize the VIP seats. So before they can finish anything, they have to finish the VIP seats, and then they can worry about the rest, because Barcelona need those VIP seats done as soon as possible in order for those seats to count, or for the income from those seats to come towards this fiscal year, so we can achieve the 1-1 rule come the summer transfer market. Now, speaking of the VIP seats, as you know, when La Liga announced that they weren't going to be counting those 100 million euros. They published that statement on La Liga's website, announcing that, discussing Barcelona's finances. And of course, Barcelona did not like that one bit. They issued an official statement stating that Javier Tebas had violated confidentiality rules by discussing the club's financial information, because per La Liga regulation rules, any financial information that the clubs turn over to La Liga, it's confidential, and La Liga cannot go and spread that all over the internet, all over the media. So Barcelona, of course, threatened legal action, asking Javier Tebas, A, stop talking about Barcelona's finances, that's confidential, and B, if you don't take that announcement from the website, we are gonna pursue legal action. Now, of course, I discussed what legal remedies are available for Barcelona in yesterday's video. In a nutshell, if Barcelona filed a complaint against Tebas, he would be suspended as La Liga's president, because he has already been reprimanded once when Real Madrid filed a complaint against him. So this would be, if Barcelona, of course, filed a complaint, this would be his second infraction, which could lead to suspension as president of La Liga. And while it seems that the threat worked, because, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, La Liga have officially removed their announcement in regards to Barcelona's VIP seats deal off their website. And for that, I have to applaud FC Barcelona. Finally, the club have taken the gloves off and they're punching back, because enough is enough. This clown named Javier Tebas, who is running this league into the ground with his stupid financial fair play rules that has seen a huge migration of talent away from La Liga and into other leagues, therefore losing La Liga TV viewership, losing La Liga sponsorship revenue. And this clown, yet, despite him running the league into the ground, he is more concerned about what Barcelona does and don't do, rather than being concerned about how terrible he's managing the league. And thankfully, Barcelona have decided to hit back with that statement, with the legal action threat. And La Liga have listened, because, as I said in yesterday's video, Javier Tebas is a bully. And the only way to handle bullies is to pop them right in the mouth. And that's exactly what Barcelona did, of course, metaphorically speaking, with that statement that they released. All right, that is all in regards to the first segment of news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, including your thoughts about the match against Dortmund, your thoughts about the VIPC agreement with Limak, and of course, Javier Tebas shaking in his boots after Barcelona's announcement and legal threat. Now, usually we do the comment section around this time, but it looks like nobody's leaving comments. Nobody's interested in me reading their comments, unless StreamYard is messing up again, because it has happened before where I couldn't see any comments, but the comments were rolling. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to double check. But no, I see a comment, so never mind. It's not a glitch. I guess because it's a pretty late podcast. Usually they're at 6:30 p.m. It's 8:30 p.m. But I see Innocent who says, oh, wait, I forgot to click on it. Hi, Mo. I hope Lamine injury is not serious. They're saying it's not an injury. He's not injured. There's nothing wrong with him. The only reason he requested a substitution is because the team had agreed with Flick that if they finish the match early, and but what I mean by that is, score several goals where that's it, the match is done, that if they would do that, that Flick would allow Ansu Fati to come in, because that's the kind of camaraderie that this team has built, where, they see Ansu Fati hasn't had any minutes and they're more concerned about him than their own minutes. So they said, hey, Flick, if we go in there, finish this match off early, let Ansu play. And that's what they did. They scored 4 goals. The match was pretty much done at the 80th minute. And Lamine Yamal, being the good guy that he is, he requested the substitution so Ansu Fati can come in his place. Kind of like what Gabi did. I don't know if you guys remember, several matches ago, Gabi was warming up. Flick calls him over. He's like, all right, you're going to go in. But the match was like 5-0. And Gabi said, no, it's okay. Give some minutes to Pablo Torre, who hadn't played much. And that's what Flick did. So it looks like that's what the team did today with Ansu Fati, which is an absolutely beautiful gesture, which, again, goes to show the camaraderie between these guys and how Hansi Flick has built a very, very close-knit locker room. And Not a Funny Guy says, sorry, Mo, I was late to the stream. No worries, my friend. You are here. It's better late than never. So thank you for joining, and thank you for your comment. And Sean says, I'm very impressed with how Flick was able to create well-balanced team, something Carlo is having trouble at Madrid. 100% agree with you. The thing with Carlo Ancelotti, he doesn't really, and he's admitted to this, so this is not like my opinion or anything, but he doesn't really do tactics. His method is hands off. It's kind of like, all right, you guys go out there and do your thing. That's kind of been his approach all the time, which I guess it's worked out for him because he has won a lot. But this time around, it's just not working out. Because it is crazy too. Because you look at Madrid and the kind of players that they have, Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Valverde. I mean, they have quite the artillery, and to be struggling like this, it's insane. Which makes me wonder, like, can you imagine what Flick would do with this Real Madrid squad, having those kind of players at his disposal? It's crazy. Not a funny guy says again, how many goals do you think Barca can score in the second leg? I think Barca will probably go a little bit easier. I think the whole intention of this match was to come out and kind of just put an end to the tie. Because after all, there's so many matches coming up. We have the Copa del Rey final. We have La Liga, where every match is going to be a final since it's only 4 points between us and Madrid. So I think maybe for the second leg, there'll be some rotations. And Barcelona might not come out swinging as hard. Not to say that they're going to come out asleep at the wheel. It's just they're not going to have the need to come out and finish. Now, of course, so that I think is going to be less goals. And plus the added factor that the Dortmund stadium is very, very tough stadium. You've all seen the yellow wall. It's just an incredible atmosphere. I hope to be able to watch a match one day in the Dortmund stadium, but it's not going to be, I can't imagine it's going to be another 4-0, maybe 2-1, maybe 3-1 for an aggregate of 7-1. That'd be cool. Or for an aggregate of 6-1, but we'll see. All right, let's do the next bit of news because, ladies and gentlemen, PSG are targeting Alejandro Balde. Now, Balde is having an absolute superb season under Hansi Flick. When Hansi Flick came to Barcelona, he saw what Balde had to offer, and he thought to himself, I can turn this guy into the next Alphonso Davies, which is what Flick did. He turned Alphonso Davies into Alphonso Davies, or the Alphonso Davies that we all know. And when he saw Balde, he thought that Balde had the same qualities that could make him the next Alphonso Davies. And Flick lived up to that promise, where Alejandro Balde has become one of the best left backs in Europe. Of course, he always had the potential there. He always had the talent. It's not like, Hansi Flick made a miracle, but he was able to work with what Balde had. He was able, I guess, to Balde was more of a diamond in the rough, and Hansi Flick was able to, buff him up and turn him into a shiny diamond. And this, of course, has caught the attention of many European clubs, including PSG, who have decided that Balde is now one of their priority signings to reinforce their left back. And it's reported that the French club are willing to pay 100 million euros for Alejandro Balde. Now, of course, Balde is not for sale. He's one of the players that Barcelona consider untransferable. Doesn't matter how much they offer. Balde is not for sale. In fact, he has a release clause worth 1 billion euros. So if PSG want him, you guys can come and pay his release clause. You can take him. Of course, I would never want to get rid of Balde, but 1 billion euros would go a very long way in solving Barcelona's finances. After all, Barcelona owe 1.3 billion. So if you get 1 billion, you only owe 300 million. That's not a bad deal. But of course, that's not going to happen. No club's going to pay 1 billion for any player. Doesn't matter who. And again, Balde is not for sale. And of course, Balde doesn't want to leave either. So no worries as far as Balde's links with PSG. But just know that PSG have made him one of their priority signings and are willing to shell out big bucks for the academy player. All right, let's do comments. So that we are going to talk about another defender by the name Jonathan Tah. All right, let's see. Romain says, I hear Raf is 3 goals and assists away from breaking the all-time record for contributions in the Champions League. That's interesting. I have not read that. Thank you for that info. And yeah, it just goes to show what a great season Rafinha is having. And to think that people tried to convince me last season that his 10 goals were amazing and were Barca level, which just goes to show that after 6 years of mediocrity under Valverde, Setien, Koeman, and Xavi, People got used to that mediocrity and they started defending that mediocrity, so much so that they thought 10 goals from a Barca attacker is somehow impressive. But now, what's impressive, it's what Rafinha is doing now. That's what's impressive. Not what he did last season, not what he did the season before. It's what he's doing now, where he has already surpassed the numbers of his two first seasons combined. Combined. That's insane. That's Barca level. Not that bullshit that we saw last season that everybody called me a hater because I was criticizing it. I'm the hater, or are you just a complacent fan that's okay with whatever? Because that's a problem. If you're okay with the Barca player scoring 50 goals or 5 goals, it doesn't fucking matter. That's a problem. Because this is Barcelona, and here we only demand the best. And if you can't be the best, you need to leave. And Rafinha is now being the best. So, bravo to Rafinha. And shame on you guys who defended mediocrity with everything you had, because that's how clubs go from being great to being mediocre by mediocre standards. Bobby says Balde would never leave unless he only cared about money so he can play in a crappy league and never win a Champions League. Yeah, don't worry. Balde is not thinking about leaving. And again, he is not for sale. And Baby's come back with the donation. Baby's come back. Always, always, always supporting this channel. Thank you so much, my friend, for your generosity and for always supporting this channel. Baby's comeback says, what's up, Mo? Late to the live, though, on Matt's interview regarding Messi. Kind of weird and wrong time, but that's just me. I didn't see the interview. I saw the headlines, something about Ter Stegen was talking about his relationship with Messi. I didn't see it. I didn't watch the interview, so I didn't see what he said. I just saw that he did one and he spoke about Messi. So I can't really comment, but I'll check it out and maybe I'll make a video about it tomorrow. Why not? Today's been an incredibly busy day. I was at work. I was in the office all day. Got out of work, ran home, did the post-match live analysis, took a little break, and now I'm doing the podcast. But I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment. But thank you, my friend, for your donation, and thank you for your support. And let's see, where did we leave off? Innocent says, was very happy to see Ansu today. I hope he finds his form. I think it's a little too late for that. I think the only way Ansu Fati is going to find his form is somewhere else. And Keith says, Mo, thanks, man. No, my friend, thank you for watching and for your comment. And thanks all of you who are watching, because, again, without you guys, I'd be just some crazy guy yelling at his camera. All right, let's get back to the news. Let's do another bit of news, and then we'll do more comments. But this time we have to talk about another defender. No, it's not Balde. It's Jonathan Tah, the German center back, whose contract is set to expire at the end of the season with Bayer Leverkusen. He has decided not to renew, looking for a new challenge, and as such, he will become a free agent on June 30th. And of course, he was heavily linked with Barcelona because Barcelona had approached him with the intention to reach an agreement so they can sign him as a free agent come the summer. But then Ronald Araujo renewed his contract, and as such, Barcelona's interest in the player cooled off. And since Jonathan Tah had not heard from Barcelona for quite some time, he decided to start listening to other offers because, of course, Tah prioritized Barcelona. His number one objective was to come to Barca in the summer. But having not heard from Barca, he decided to start meeting with other clubs because, of course, he cannot wait for the club forever. He has to think about his future. And he does have interest from other clubs such as Bayern Munich, AC Milan, and Inter Milan as well. Now, Jonathan Tah's agent is Pini Zahavi, who's a very close friend of Jan Laporta. He's also the agent of Hansi Flick and of Robert Lewandowski. And today, or yesterday, Barcelona communicated to Pini Zahavi that the signing of Jonathan Tah is not completely ruled out. That Barcelona are still considering signing him. However, Barcelona have requested more time because they need to figure out two things. First of all, they need to figure out what their financial fair play will be. Again, Barcelona don't know. They have to figure out what's going to happen with the VIPC deal. And two, they have to figure out what's going to happen with their center backs, because so far they have 5. They have Iñigo, Cubarsí, Araujo, Christensen, and Eddie Garcia. So the only way Barcelona would still sign Jonathan Tah is if they obviously have enough financial fair play in the summer to register him. And number 2, if one of the center backs or 2 center backs end up leaving. Now, it looks like Christensen is on his way out. And Araujo is still kind of a question mark. He did just sign his contract renewal, but he also negotiated that backdoor clause where it allows him to leave for around, I think it's 65 million euros during the first 15 days of the summer transfer market. So it looks like he's more leaning to stay, but it's not 100%. So Barcelona want to wait until the summer. They want to see what their financial fair play looks like, and they want to see if any of their center backs leave. If those two are met, then they would go for Jonathan Tah. Otherwise, the club are not going to sign him. So Barcelona communicated that to Tah through his agent, Pini Zahabi, letting them like, hey, you're not fully ruled out. We just need some time. If you want to wait, great. If not, we understand because, of course, he does have to figure out his future. All right, that's the news in regards to Jonathan Tah. Let's do the comment section, and then we will talk about Thomas Partey, who had a partay yesterday against Real Madrid. Let's see. Nathan Ford says, hi, Mo. Question. Will Barca receive money from sponsorships on June 30th? I mean, as in new sponsorships? Because sponsorship deals are the sponsorship deals, right? It's like if you sign with someone for 4 years and they agree to pay you every year 10 million, and every year they pay you 10 million, whatever the schedule is. Could be a entire lump sum at a certain date, or it could be divided into different payments, maybe quarterly payments, maybe monthly payments. That just depends on what kind of agreement Barcelona has with each sponsor, right? Let's see. Romain says that's in a single season, by the way. Penaldo has the record. Interesting. I did not know that. Thank you for that, my friend. Romain says he's also tied Messi today at 19 contributions. That's insane. That's totally insane. And Noé Sanchez says, hey, Mo, good to see you again. What do you think we'll be facing off? We move to semifinals, Inter or Bayern. I know we got vendetta with both teams. I have a feeling, and this could go either way, but I feel like Inter has a slight edge over Bayern. Not like a huge one. I'm not saying that Inter is going to win 10-0 next game. But I think they have a slight edge, and I think it might be in Barca, Inter Milan. But of course, let's not count our chickens before they hatch, because we still have a second match in Dortmund. Let's not forget that. It's not over till it's over. So let's focus on the second leg of the quarterfinals, and then we can think about who is our next opponent. And Innocent says, Mo, do we really have space for Tah? Because I don't think he would like to sit on the bench, and we already have Martinez. Again, this is why I said that. Barcelona will only consider signing him if A, they have enough financial fair play to register him, and B, if someone leaves. If everybody stays, Barcelona are not going to sign him. That would not make sense. And Jabba the Hutt says, if Araujo has a low release clause, he should leave like Cruyff says. Cruyff says if someone doesn't want to be here, should leave. But if he has a lower release clause, doesn't mean he wants to be here. Doesn't want to be here. It's just, when you negotiate, you have to negotiate in your best interest. And if having, an escape plan just in case, or a plan B, I think that's totally fine. Doesn't mean that Araujo doesn't want to be here or anything. It's just, everybody has to look out for their own interests. After all, this is still a job. We usually don't think about football players as employees, but they are. Football club is a company, and players are their employees. And when you negotiate an employment contract, you want to negotiate the best terms possible. You can't blame them for that. If you got a new job and you try to negotiate the best benefits and the highest salary, does that mean you don't want to be at the company or that you're a terrible person? No. It's your right to negotiate the best possible employment contract that you can get. It's your right as an employee, and it's Araujo's right to negotiate that release clause. All right, let's do the last bit of news, and then we'll do more comments. But let's talk about Thomas Partey. And you might say, Mo, why are we talking about Thomas Partey? Well, that's because the 31-year-old Ghanaian midfielder's contract is set to expire during this summer. So just like Jonathan Tah, Thomas Partey will also become a free agent, and it's reported that his number one priority is to come to Barcelona. Now, Thomas Partey does have interest from many other clubs around Europe, included in the Premier League. But again, he prefers to go to Barcelona. And of course, this is someone that Barcelona were considering previously, before they Hansi Flick came and was like, what are you guys doing? We have Casado, we have Bernal. Why are we talking about midfielders? But Barcelona had considered Partey before, and now Partey, again, will be free agent, wants to come to Barcelona, and it's reported that Barcelona would consider signing him, but only, this is important, if someone leaves, right? If Frankie de Jong, for example, decides, I don't want to renew and I'm going to leave, something like that, then maybe Barcelona would consider him. But for now, obviously, he's not a priority. The midfield is not a priority because we have plenty of midfielders, and they're all very skilled midfielders. We have Frankie, Pedri, Gabi, Fermin, Olmo, who gets injured every other Sunday, and of course, Casado and Bernal. Let's not forget about them. So Partey prioritizes Barcelona. Barcelona not prioritizing him. But if someone leaves, they could consider. Again, could. Doesn't mean that if someone leaves, they would sign him. They could consider signing him. This is very important. Kind of like I said, hey, maybe Barcelona would sign Tah if someone leaves. And then people are like, well, how are we going to sign him? There's no space. Again, someone leaves. Same thing with Partey. If someone leaves, Barcelona would consider it. All right, let's do the comment section. That's all the news for this podcast. Again, I did do the post-match live analysis earlier today. So if you want to hear my detailed analysis of the match against Dortmund, make sure to check it out. Not a Funny Guy says, who would you rather face in the semi? Inter or Bayern? Damn, that's hard. That's hard because I feel like maybe Bayern would be a tad, tiny fraction easier. Again, a tad. I'm not saying it would be easy and we would smash them 20-0. But maybe it would be a tad easier just because Inter are really good this season. But I feel like either one would be difficult opponents. But I think I would go with Inter. Only because we already faced off against Bayern in the group stages. We faced off against Benfica in the group stages, and we had them in the round of 16. We faced off in Dortmund against Dortmund in the group stages, and then we're facing off against them again in the quarterfinals. So it'd be nice to have a different opponent, right? That versus facing Bayern again, which we already faced in the group stages. So we didn't face off against Inter Milan. So I think Inter Milan would be a cool choice. But again, either one will be a tough opponent. I mean, it is the semifinals of the Champions League, and you don't get to the semifinals without being a good team. So either one would be very difficult. But I think I would prefer Inter Milan. I keep wanting to say Inter Miami, but I mean, I would love Inter Miami. That'd be an easy match. But Inter Milan, but only for variety's sakes, not for any other reason. Nana says Juventus is interested in Lenglet. Yeah, I saw that. Hopefully that will put pressure on Atletico Madrid since, you know, they're playing the same game as always. Just delay in hopes that Barcelona get desperate and accept a lower price, which it has worked, right? It worked with Griezmann, Villa, Suarez. I mean, we've been horrible. Atletico Madrid has taken advantage of us time and time and again. So hopefully this time we learned our lesson and we can be like, no, F you, and get what we actually deserve. And Junior says, you said the opposite when he was refusing to talk renewal, though. About Araujo? Well, apples and oranges, my friend. Apples and oranges. Why can't people not differentiate between different scenarios? It blows my mind. Not wanting to renew, it's a clear indication that you don't want to be at the club. Renewing means you do want to be at the club. How is having a release clause the same thing as not wanting to renew? The fact that I have to explain this, it's frustrating. Emmanuel says, Mo, man, I'm so happy for the win. Madrid go down again, bro. I love my team, Barcelona, for life. Amen, my friend. Amen. Those goals, man, by Declan Rice, holy shit. I mean, 2 of them, back to back. It's crazy. Sean says, if Barca won a treble, how much money would Barca get from the new Nike deal? We don't know because according to, Jean Laporta, it's the best deal in history, but he refuses to tell us what the numbers are. So how is it the best deal in history? I guess it's one of those trust me, bro, kind of situations. Java the Hut says, if Nico Williams is signed, I see Rafinha being as the number 10 and Olmo then leaving. No, I think if Nico Williams is signed, Rafinha would still be on the left with Nico Williams kind of rotating with him. And plus, remember, Nico can also play on the right. so he could also rotate with Lamine, so he can give rest. Because right now we don't really have reliable rotations, substitutes for both Lamine and Rafinha, right? If God forbid Rafinha gets injured, or God forbid Lamine gets injured, it's over, right? There's nobody to replace them. But if Nico Williams comes, easy. You need to rest Lamine, put in Nico. You need to rest Rafinha, put in Nico, right? And we do have a donation. Sanjog, thank you so much, my friend, for your generosity. He says, I missed the live match intensity anymore. I talked about him briefly, not so much about his performance. I mean, he was only on the field for 8 minutes, but yeah, you definitely see the lack of intensity. That's why I say, like, honestly, the best thing that can happen to Ansu is for him to leave Barca, because right now he's not there. With everything that's happened with him at Barca, with his injuries, surgeries, I think the best thing is for him to go somewhere else, clear his head, start over. And I think that would be the best. But anyways, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching, for your generosity, for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. If you haven't commented yet, make sure you do.